All right, welcome back. In case you're just joining us, it's time for our conversation right now. My guest is joining me right here in the studio. He's Chijioke Ikechukwu. He's the Chief Executive Officer at Bristol Group. He's also an economist. Mr. Ikechukwu, welcome to the program.
How are you today? Very much. Very well.
All right, let me also introduce my guest from Lagos, Johnson Chukwu. Is the Chief Executive Officer at Akari Asset Management. Mr. Chukwu, it's so good to have you join me on the show this morning. How are you?
I'm good. And you?
I like that place you are sitting, no? Really nice. It doesn't look as if you are in Nigeria.
Well, this is my office in Lagos.
Yes, I know. Welcome to the program.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I was...
How is the weather?
Okay. The weather is a bit okay here in Abuja. I don't know if Mr. Ikechukwu has something, but it's a bit cooler than the higher 30s that we used to see earlier. But let's see how it goes. I think I will start with you, Mr. Chukwu, right there in Lagos. Tell us how the Lagos atmosphere is, especially since the inauguration. I haven't spoken with you. You're there on, at least you understand what's happening on Broad Street as well as Custom Street. Can you calibrate it, or give me a sense of how Lagosians are feeling?
Well, I would think, if you ask me, I would say that there is no change in the mood. We have not seen any excitement. We didn't see any excitement last week. We've not seen any major excitement in the mood of both market players and investors. We were expecting to see some improvement or higher tempo of engagement by the government upon the inauguration, but we didn't see that. We didn't see the president make any broadcast. We were looking forward to a broadcast that will kind of give us some direction. The president has even appointed his domestic staff, the chief of staff, secretary of the federal government, and all that key elements of government. So the mood one will have said is neutral, but I think it's tending towards being a bit damp because we've not seen anything that would create some excitement.
Okay, let me just stick with you for a few seconds. As you've been watching all this, what is the topmost economic issue for you, Mr. Chukwu? What's the topmost economic issue among a potpourri of a lot of things right now?
One single item.
Yes, just one.
To expand the growth of the economy. At the GDP growth of 2.01%, when the population is growing at 2.7%, we are moving towards an economic meltdown. A lot of other things we are witnessing today, insecurity, kidnapping, and what have you, could some extent be moderated if we have a strong economic growth and job opportunities are created for the teeming youth.
Okay, let me come to Mr. Ikechukwu right now. Mr. Chukwu has said, unemployment staring us in the face and all of that. What is the topmost economic issue for you? One, is it different from Mr. Chukwu?
Yeah, I would take it from the other side because he said a better employment will probably reduce
crime,
insecurity that is existing everywhere. I would think it is just the other way around because if you know the level of insecurity in the country today, the level is such that makes everybody panic. Everybody, whether you are in Abuja, in Lagos, anywhere else. So the circumstance that is supposed to create the employment has been threatened by the insecurity that is existing everywhere. And so investors are very wary of putting in one kobo anywhere else because you can't even travel from one part of Nigeria to another, except you're just flying from airport to airport. So that is scary, and that is a major area to address right now. Now that we have a new government in place, we need to do everything to eliminate this insecurity completely in order for us to start talking about economic growth. Because without eliminating it, we probably will not be talking about economic growth.
Okay, so are you saying that that addressing our security concerns should be a short-term thing? If there's anything faster than short-term,
yes, if there's anything,
with the speed of light, it should be addressed.
That's right, because we have the capacity. We have the capacity to address this. If we don't address it, every other sector of this economy is going to suffer. We have seen how agriculture is suffering already. We have seen how our revenue base is dwindling. And so until we address the insecurity of this country right now, we are just going to be struggling just for nothing.
Okay, let me come to you. Let me still stick with you before I go to Mr. Chukwu in Lagos.
That's right.
Mr. Chukwu, I hope you're still watching and still listening to us. Okay, fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. If we take a look at, since the inauguration, today is the 3rd of June, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of people have been expected, at least the president, to have made key appointments. What do you think? Are we just making the president go in a hurry? Because he did say, I will not be Baba go slow. That people that think I'll be Baba go slow, I'll really surprise them. And I think I read an article, was it last week or so, there about that. I said, Baba go slow doesn't want to be Baba go slow again. I think it's going to Baba.
I want to believe that this time he's going to announce his cabinet very quickly. The delay he had in the last dispensation was heavily criticized, and it affected a whole lot of activities of the country. So I want to believe that he's going to announce any moment from now his cabinet, because he already has people he's working with, he knows everybody, and he had enough time between the time he won the election and now to actually put these names together. So we want to believe that any moment from now, these names will be rolled out.
When you mean any moment from now, how long are you expecting? For me, during my analysis, I did say, in fact, 1 month is too much.
Yes.
Because we saw, for example, in South Africa, was it last week, Cyril Ramaphosa was inaugurated again after he held sway for 15 months after President Jacob Zuma left. Our own VP was there. I saw VP at the back of Ramaphosa. That's and right. I was saying in my mind, while I was watching the inauguration on SABC, that's South Africa Broadcasting Corporation, I was saying, I hope that as the VP is watching, that he would also bring in some lessons here to Nigeria. So I expect that the appointments will not take another 6 months. Even for me, 1 month, you know, like I said earlier.
It should even take 1 month.
Yeah.
Because these names, how many people are we talking about? And like I said, we've had enough time to put all these names together. And of course, even as the election was taking place, we should have been penciling some names and making sure that these names are ready just about now. So that, when I said any moment from now, I expect that by now the names should be ready with him. An announcement is what we're all waiting for. Okay. Yeah.
Mr. Chukwu, what's your own view concerning the president appointing, like they say, his kitchen cabinet people? Oh, have we lost Mr. Chukwu there? Let's see if we can reconnect him again, because we're speaking to him on Skype all the way from Lagos. So you're saying that you are not expecting the president to waste time?
Yeah, there are so many things we're expecting. Growth of the economy. There are so many things we're expecting. Implementation of our budget should take off immediately. And so if it is taken off immediately, we expect also that the key people that will make this implementation possible should be appointed as quickly as possible.
Mr. Chukwu, what is your view right now about the president appointing his kitchen cabinet? You know, he said that he doesn't want to be known as Baba Go Slow anymore. We hope that he's not going to go slow. He's not going to hold his brakes on this.
We're already starting on a slow note. The president... And are you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, after we're already starting on a slow note. The president was inaugurated on 29th of May. Today is like appointed at the 3rd of June. We'll not hear the announcement of the core members of the kitchen cabinet. The president, his personal staff. We've not heard the chief of staff. We've not heard the secretary of the federal government. These are some of the key elements of governance that you need from day one. In effect, if not for the fact that I hear those who have left cabinet are really continue in that position, you would have been dealing with a vacuum in governance, because you need to submit something to the government, somebody has to attend to it. None of those core staff have been appointed. So that, for me, they already lost a number of days, and that's already not a good sign for a government that started the first time using 5 to 6 months without appointing ministers. My colleague there just mentioned the issue of driving the budget and implementing the budget. The budget has been signed into law, and there's no minister as it stands today. One would have expected that, having run the government for 4 years, that the president on 30th of May could have announced his cabinet. I mean, there's nobody he wants to talk to or he wants to engage for the role, any role in the cabinet he shouldn't have been familiar with by now. It's quite unlike the his first time. So I think we're really dealing with a slow start. We hope that he will take a cue from some of what we're saying and respond timely.
Mr. Chukwu, still sticking with you, do you think that the president is also on a path, or yes, on the pathway of having so much to do with permanent secretaries, like he said in this first term, that these ministers are just, you know, he said it himself.
Noisemakers.
Yes, that they are noisemakers. Are we seeing him go down that route again this time?
I wouldn't think that the president wants to do that. You know, one of the lessons of his first time is that there is benefit of momentum. If you lose momentum, if you take your time to build back that momentum, with the ministers that have left, in effect, you are going to see that no policy implementation is taking place. So if you stay long without bringing in ministers to take off from where the past ministers dropped the ball, you are going to take some time to build back that momentum. I wouldn't think the president would make the mistake of relying on the permanent secretaries again, because the first time we did it partly contributed and contributed to economic recession. Nobody will make such a fundamental mistake twice.
Okay. Are you seeing, perhaps you don't have a crystal ball in your office. I don't know whether you have a crystal ball, you might. If you look through if you look through your crystal ball in your office in Lagos, are you seeing any names that perhaps the president would bring back? A lot of people have said that, you know, there were a lot of square pegs in round holes in the former cabinet. For example, Dr. Christian Ngige, doctor managing employment, labor and employment, for him coming up on national TV to say, we are not losing doctors. In fact, let them go. We'll get more. For example, Mr. Fashola that manned 3 ministries. A lot of people said too much for the man. Perhaps that's why he got gray-headed, more gray-headed as a minister. And some people have also said, okay, round pegs in round holes. For example, like a Kachukwu, do you see any names being brought back, or should you just do away with all and bring in fresh minds?
It is unimaginable for anybody to expect that the president can completely do away with all the past ministers. It is not that some of them are not competent. A couple of them are very competent. Maybe they were assigned to the wrong ministry. Or some were given more than enough responsibility that they could show that. One of the things I expect the president to do is to break up a ministry like the Ministry of Power, Housing and Work into 3 different ministries and assign some of his most competent ministers to those ministries. Because the Ministry of Work is very critical, Ministry of Housing is very critical, and Ministry of Power is quite critical. What will happen is that I expect that some of them will come back, but I hope that the president will also assign them to their areas of core competence. The federal executive is not where you experiment. The reality is that it is not possible. It's fallacious to believe that anybody can do any job. People have their competencies. The fact that you can drive a trailer does not mean you can ride a bike. So you cannot get people to do jobs that they need to spend 4 years to acquire skills to do. So bring back some of those who have competence, assign them appropriately to the ministry where they have the right competence, and bring in other people who also have, who are also exceptional. And let's build an executive council that, one, you have robustness of discussion, 2, you have people who have the capacity to implement, but we also must do this quickly so that we don't lose momentum.
Okay, let me come to Mr. Ikechukwu. What do you think? Do you agree with Mr. Chukwu, or you have your own?
Yeah, I agree with him in some aspects. I also think that where we got it wrong in the first place, in the first dispensation, was the fact that Mr. President felt it must be all party men, that is he our party or not our party. When there are many technocrats all over the country, qualified professionals who could handle very professional responsibilities, because you could be seeking for party men and party members, and you won't find any competent person for certain positions you want. And so let us look at the whole Nigerians as potential people we can pick from, whichever party they belong to, whether in politics or not, it doesn't really matter. And so I also think in some areas we need continuity. In
which areas?
You know, a place like the certain positions that are very critical to Mr. President, I don't think so many people want to change their secretaries, for example. And a position of SGF has a collection of a good number of things.
No, but the question is, I would want to change my secretary, my own secretary that works with me, if she's not efficient.
Yeah,
if
the SGF is efficient and knows its onions, why change a winning team, for example? But just like you said...
But the question is, the former administration, that's the 4 years, the previous 4 years, was that 4 years, was the team a winning team?
Of course, you can't have everybody in a team doing well. It cannot be possible to have a whole number of people in a team doing well. Obviously, there were many people who were not doing what Nigerians expected them to do, who actually used the media to cover up for their inefficiencies, who obviously had their ways of getting close to the government just to make sure they are in the good books of government. That does not show efficiency, if you ask me. So Nigerians know the people who are working and know the people who are just not working. He also knows some of the people around him doing the right work, and so. But I think most of the decisions will be taken by Mr. President to know who actually is working for him and who is not working.
What are the ministers, the former ministers, these immediate past ministers? Were there any shining lights for you? Was there any minister that was extraordinary? Let me put it that way. That, like you say, that in a winning team you won't have everybody winning, but why do you now call it a winning team?
No. Of course, like I said, if you know the people who worked with you very well, you should be able to know who did what you wanted him to do and who didn't do what he wanted him to do. It is difficult to know, actually, because in the eyes of some people outside, just like people watch football matches, when you watch as an outsider, you are different from the coach who's actually watching from inside. You are different from the player who's playing from inside. So you may be seeing a particular minister as performing just because you see him in TV. That does not mean he's indeed performing. So it is really difficult for us as people, players from outside, to say, oh, he's working, he's not working.
Mr. Ikechukwu, you're evading my question. You're someone, you are evading it very smartly. Out of, is it 36 ministers that we had? So out of the 36, who was the one person, or how many people were the shining lights for you? I'm not speaking on behalf of, but I'm just saying.
You see, you and I don't have all the parameters to measure these people. Now, if the parameter you have is that of seeing what they're doing on TV, because you're not working with them every day.
No, but the thing is that it's not a matter of seeing them on TV. By virtue of what I do, I try as much as possible to look at the policies of each of those ministries.
A good number of them have done well. If you look at the scorecards they should have, don't forget that every Wednesday they meet with their boss, the president, to say what they have done and what they have not done. It is in that process that the Mr. President will know who has done well and who has not done well. It is difficult for you and I, Nancy,
I don't want to say it's so difficult.
Yes.
And I don't want to put names there because they will say, oh, okay, no, Nancy is supporting this person or not supporting this person.
Yes.
But my own is that, can we also have a reinvigorated team?
We
as
can.
Well?
That was why
I know what you are trying to avoid.
that's why.
But let me not pester more.
Yes.
Let me go to Mr. Chukwu.
Yes.
Mr. Chukwu, hope you're listening to Mr. Ikechukwu. Are you also in that? Are you also within that bracket that you don't want to be seen as calling a name or not?
Yes, I mean, Nancy, this is a national television live program.
You don't want to be held by the jugular.
It is important for you to get anybody to mention names of ministers the person has judged to be performing or not performing. But the reality is that we, as Nigerians who are the beneficiaries or recipients of the service of ministers, are in good position to judge which minister is doing well or not. But it will be improper. It will be improper for me to sit in front of a national TV and begin to put out names of those I judged as having done well or not having done well.
Now, Mr. Chukwu,
so we think that
Mr. Chukwu, I don't know what you and Mr. Ikechukwu, I don't know what you men are planning for me this morning, but I think I'm up to you men this morning. Okay, but you don't agree with Mr. Ikechukwu in the terms that as Nigerians, we're in the best position to say whether a minister has done well or not.
Absolutely, we are the recipients of their service. They are serving us. They are not just serving the president. The president appointed them to serve us. So we feel the impact of their service, and we are in good position to appraise them. So the only thing is that I do not think it is proper for one person to sit in front of a national TV and begin to write appraisal of ministers. But I know Nigerians, if you want to get opinion, I think they should do an opinion poll of Nigerians, and you will get clearly who the Nigerian judge as having done well or not having done well, or if and who they think did well in the immediate past executive council.
Okay, Mr. Chukwu, I'll take your advice after the program. I think we've done it before, haven't we? I'll send my team to the street. Let's do an opinion poll on who they think have done well as Nigerians. But you're also a Nigerian. But let me allow that slide a bit, and let's go over to another issue. I don't know if you saw the Economist magazine, the report about Nigeria, that there's more misery ahead for us as Nigerians, as more Nigerians will be getting poorer even in the next 4 years of Mr. President. The Economist magazine also said that the average incomes are dropping by 2030. If you take a sample of poor people in the world, that majority of the poor people in the world will be Nigerians. What's your view?
Well, I'm sure you know I must have read that article.
Yes,
I did, and it is premised on one fundamental factor, and that is that our population is growing at a rate of 2.7%, while our GDP growth rate is now expected to get up to 2.7% in the next 5 years. So what they said is that in the next 5 years, our poverty level will continue to worsen. That currently we have about 94 million people who are living in extreme poverty, and that number is increasing. It's very simple. It's a very simple and logical fact, which many of us have emphasized repeatedly. There is no way the economy, when you ask me the question, what is of greatest economic, what's my greatest concern? And I said it is the growth of the economy, that the growth of the economy is too slow for the growth of the population. And that if we don't address that growth rate, if we don't improve that growth rate, we cannot address the issue of insecurity. But back to what you are saying, the concerns are very clear. You cannot grow the economy at 2.01%, and when your population is growing at 2.7%, you're going to continue to witness increasing level of poverty, increasing level of despondency. We are now seeing a way level of Nigerians are committing suicide because they do not have the hope that tomorrow is going to be better than today. And for me, that should be the foundation on which any government is built. Let me tell you, Nancy, societies, or what we call empires, rise and fall based on the strength or weakness of the economy. You cannot have a strong society, a vibrant society, and a good society if you do not have a strong economy. The economy will define whether you're going to have a very vibrant healthcare system because you're going to fund it. Educational system will be funded. You can't have a strong military. You can't have an effective policing system if you don't have the economic resources. So for me, the first point of call of any government is focus on the economy. If you get the economy right, it will be easier for you to address a myriad of problems we are experiencing in this country. But if we continue to allow the economy to slip as it is, then you cannot have the way we have to deal with all those issues.
Mr. Ikechukwu, what's your view? Because The Economist, when I read the report, it did say that the economy is like a stranded truck. In fact, it said that there are a lot of trucks along Apapa and all of that. That is like a stranded truck, and that we are facing a revenue crisis, just like I alluded even in my analysis.
Beyond the ratio of the statistics to economic growth he mentioned, you could see that even without looking at the figures, you could see that in all sectors of our economy, we're not moving forward. Yeah, tomorrow we'll see the purchasing managers index looking up, increasing, and we are clapping. The truth is that for us to even grow this economy the way we want to grow it, we need to face the manufacturing sector and make sure all manufacturing areas are producing. If we look at all the companies that have closed down in odd places, we need to find out from them what government needs to do to make sure they get back to production. If you solve that area, you will see that there will be a good number of people getting back to work, a good number of revenue coming to government through taxes, a good number of activities that will actually reflect the economy. So economy is not growing just because sectors of the economy are not doing well. Look at a major place like the maritime sector. We are not getting any kind of income from that area, which is a major driver of income for many countries. We are just by the coastline, and we have monies were missing from there. So when you look at all the other revenue areas, otherwise they will putting so much pressure on FIRS, putting so much pressure on oil. Of course, that one, the pressure is already there because we don't control the oil pricing. So there are many other areas of revenue that we should be looking at today to develop. That way we can start reflating the economy.
Mr. Chukwu, what is your view about the president's wife coming out very vehemently, loudly criticizing the social investment program of the government which is headed by her own husband? What do you think? That the social investment program hasn't worked? A lot of people have had two categories of thoughts, in the sense that she's going criticizing the people that are manning the social investment program, not particularly the program itself. That's the implementation of the program. What do you think? For such, should we just dismiss it?
No, I think for me, it's symptomatic of the challenges we have in the government. There's an Igbo saying that you do not shout at the president, you can whisper to. And I believe that the wife of the president must have tried to whisper, and the whispering is not going through, and she decided to shout.
Whispering to who now?
To her husband.
Okay, people have answered it for me. So let's leave it at that. If you, ordinarily, if you, the wife of the president is in a position to speak or talk to the powers that be, and expect that corrections will be taken, or her suggestions will be taken into account. But if she's coming to the public to announce her frustration, then it simply means that the message is trying to pass within the system is not getting through. And she needed to express her frustration by speaking out in public. And she has done it repeatedly. This is not the first time she's criticizing police or the government or the government in power. Unfortunately, we've not seen any material amendment or adjustment to the style of governance as a result of her speaking out.
Okay, for those that even manage the social investment program, I think Madam Uwais, the social investment program, she's advisor to the president on that. I've spoken to her a few times on this program. And even reading through what they presented, that 500 billion naira has been earmarked for the social intervention, but they've not been so cashed back, because in the last 4 years or so, that just about close to 400 billion naira has been released. Do you think that funding also, inadequate funding for social investment was the problem, or even implementation of the little that they got, Nigerians are not supposedly seeing the impact? For
me, it's actually a fundamental approach. I have a fundamentally different approach to it. Let's look at one of the social investment programs of the government, which is school feeding. School feeding on the balance, on the paper, is quite good. But let me tell you, the unit of family, the family unit is the house, is the household. So if the parents are not working, the mother and father are not working, and you want to feed the children one meal in the day, you are not achieving any material, you're not going to achieve any material success. The key thing is, let's create an economic environment that will provide jobs for the parents, and the parents will be in a position to feed their families. We seem to be approaching it from an unsustainable strategic point of view, where you think you can give us handouts. Handouts are never solutions to addressing severe economic challenges. The challenge is for the government to come up with a program that will lead to an expansion in the growth of the economy, that will create opportunity for people who are willing and able to work to get appropriate jobs that meet their skills. And then the family unit will take care of the children. There's nothing wrong with feeding the children once in a day, but if the parents they do not have the wherewithal to provide food for them at home and provide shelter for them and clothing, then the food you are providing will have minimal, if it has any effect. Okay.
Yeah, I like that you brought in that point, because the area of even feeding school children is not bad. The area of social programs is not bad. Like we've seen in Brazil, it works in Brazil, but the rate at which it's working here is something that we need to debate on. But I will come to Mr. Ikechukwu now, which is about Godwin Emefiele's term as the central bank governor. The first term, I think, ends today. The second term begins because he was, I think he started his job 3rd of June 2014. So we're expecting that the second term has kick-started. He's part of the economic policy makers. What do we expect from Mr. Emefiele this second term? But I will allow you to just ruminate around your thought, and let's say, let's tell our viewers that you can go on Twitter right now to vote. There is a poll on our page, that's Moneyline AIT. Economist says more misery for Nigerians ahead. Should we be worried? You should vote for option A if you say there is no cause for alarm, and vote option B if you say there is cause for worry. So what's your view about Emefiele's second term?
For the last 4 years, or in the last 4 years or 5 years of Emefiele's regime, we constantly had his communique coming out to Nigerians and either to keep or retain or reduce MPR. And Nigerians probably are right now tired of all those figures coming out. Nigerians are interested in seeing if they hear the fact that MPR has increased or reduced, a major impact it will have on the economy. You know, we have listened to all those things, and we're not seeing the impact those reduction, retaining, and all those rates, the impact they are giving us. Now, Nigerians are expecting right now major monetary policies that will just reflect this economy and change the concerns of Nigerians and stimulate the economy, really. Okay. It may not look so good to either CBN or to the country or to Nigerians, but let it be a major shift from the normal reading of communique. Let us hear, for example, we heard when we said there will be consolidation of banks using capital base. That shook the economy. But immediately that thing happened, we saw that a good number of people could access credit facilities from all the banks and from the system. And that actually was the kind of, a major decision taken at that time. Okay. We want to hear a major policy statement that will change the narratives of this particular country right now.
Mr. Chukwu, do you agree with Mr. Ikechukwu? What major policy announcements do you expect from Mr. Emefiele, even as he starts his second term? Because at the last MPC meeting, which was just held, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, he did even signal, he said in the communique that the Central Bank of Nigeria will be going after the banks aggressively to reduce their impact, that's in the treasuries market, government bonds, and all of that. What do you want to see? Do you see a different Emefiele the second term? I'm trying to see a different Emefiele because the Emefiele that I saw, the MPC, the last meeting, I don't know. What do you see?
I think Emefiele has already said the direction of what the direction of his policy being in his second term. He had mentioned at the March MPC announcement that the monetary policy authorities will be driving for lower interest rates. At the May meeting, we saw an uptick in inflation from 11.25 to 11.37. The Monetary Policy Committee maintained interest rate at 13.5%. So I want to believe, and the announcement that also followed that the central bank will come up with policies that will discourage the banks from investing in treasury bills are all indicative of a policy towards lower interest rates. The reality is that you cannot grow the economy if you continue to sustain very high interest rates. So if you ask me, I want to believe that the CBN policy direction will be largely focused on, one, accommodative monetary policies that will encourage lending to the private sector and discourage government from borrowing from the market as to crowd out the private sector. With that, you are going to see a stronger economic growth because there will be more availability of credit. But I also want the CBN to be more decisive in resolution of banking industry crisis. There are a couple of financial institutions that are not very strong and are being sustained by the central bank. If we have a policy of free entry and free exit, in as much as they are structured associated with exits of financial institutions, but we cannot continue to nurse institutions that do not have the prospect of turning around.
Okay, Mr. Chukwu, let me halt you because we have less than 1 minute and a half, less than 2 minutes to finish this program. Let me bring your, still sticking with you. What do you think of the Securities and Exchange Commission and O&O PLC face-off? The SEC has asked the management, that's the head, deputy and co to leave Wando. In fact, the Securities and Exchange Commission has also appointed an interim management to take over from them. What do you think of that? Very quickly. And the B part, is there an impact on the markets? In just a few seconds.
I think it imposed a decisive and reinvigorated regulator in the form of the Securities and Exchange Commission. It also shows a bold regulator who is ready to take position or action against any institution that falls out of line. I think it will actually get the system and wake up a lot of institutions that think is business as usual.
Okay, I think we'll continue.
On the market impact,
yes.
On the market impact, I want to believe the market will react negatively to that intervention in terms of the shares of Orlando. I expect the market to dump the shares of Orlando in the next few days. I also expect the Johannesburg Stock Exchange to take it out.
Because it's listed there.
Yes, on the stock of Orlando.
Okay, let's just take a few comments. Mr. Ikechukwu, I'll come to you just before we close. Director, just please indulge me a few seconds. Mandoline on Twitter says, Nancy, I don't know why your guests are mindful of naming the ministers who perform well and those who didn't perform. You see, Mr. Chuka and Mr. Ikechukwu, they are coming for you. Hillary says, economic managers will need to look at how to rejig the economy from unbearable unemployment, inflationary pressure, and major macroeconomic indicators. Franklin says, what are your expectations on the next Minister of Finance? Do you think the last ministers to retain her post, considering her time was short? So Patrick says, finally, we can be number one in something with the crying emoji. Okay, I think that's the much we can take. Mr. Ikechukwu, your last words very quickly in a few seconds.
On the economy or on Orlando, which one?
No, just finally, because we are rounding up the show.
The country needs to really reflect and stimulate this economy. We're too slow. We are too slow in everything. The economy needs to grow. And if it grows, everybody will feel the ripple effect of the growth will reach everybody. Okay. Our per capita income is still very low, and we need to really grow our revenue base and our GDP to get our per capita income coming up.
Okay, I want to say many thanks to you, Mr. Ikechukwu. Can I see Mr. Chukwu's face in Lagos again? Yes, Mr. Chukwu. Thank you very much also for being a part of us this Monday morning. I wish you a lovely week in Lagos. There's public holiday tomorrow and Wednesday, isn't it? Yep. So Broad Street will be a bit quiet. Mr. Chukwu, thanks for joining me on today's show.
My pleasure.
All right. Mr. Ikechukwu, thank you too
it's my pleasure
for joining me.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's the much we can take on today's edition.